potential oil reservoirs are going to be. So if you see that from that's from an aerial perspective, you'll have the ship here, about 100 metres long, and then the gear will be towed behind for several thousand metres. The source is also known as the array and the air guns. It fires the compressed air source. But that's all you'll see from the surface. Most of it's towed at depth, so that is actually the surface picture you will see of it. So not particularly when it comes to other shipping and stuff, they're not aware that there is actually equipment underneath the water, and that's where we engage support vessels to communicate that information and keep a safe distance. So the streamers themselves also have various equipment on them. This can be towed at depths from 5 to 15 metres, and probably not this vessel because it's usually just the Type 2s and the Type 3s that would recover gear, but also if you have towing capability, you may be asked to recover some gear and store it on board until we can get it back on board the mother vessel. So I'm not sure if anyone's been to New York, but that represents about 3 miles, and that's what the deployed gear would look like over that period. But that is actually what you see of the streamers on the surface of the ocean, because of course they're 10 metres or more beneath the surface. Of course,
you don't see anything.
You won't see it. You will only see the ends of them marked with the tail buoys. They will raise them up to the surface for maintenance, but that's not the typical way that they're put out there. So if you need to manoeuvre around the mother vessel, you obviously need to get permission from the mother vessel captain. There's normally you'll sit 1 mile, 1 mile abeam, but if you have a particular reason to need to come into the orange or the yellow zones, then obviously follow the instructions of the mother vessel captain to do so. That is one thing you'll probably see, particularly if you're stationed at the end of the cables. This next job will have 8 cables, so you will see 8 of these about 100 metres apart. It's got various GPS units and other equipment, and that actually, like I said, marks the front and end of the streamer. And of course, as the vessel turns around, they'll tend to stagger as the vessel turns. Paraplanes are kept up at the front, help give a little bit of flotation to a particular piece of equipment called the monowing, but we won't overthink that because that's not too important. Some things you might see, particularly if you're asked to recover the devices in case of a parting, is a streamer recovery device. If the streamers go beyond a particular depth, an airbag will deploy and it will bring it back up to the surface. And these are other pieces of equipment that are also on there. You need to take a little bit of care with these because they contain lithium batteries. If there's been water damage to them, the water then can react with the lithium batteries, making them a little bit more dangerous. So if you do find that, obviously speak to the mother vessel for further information on how to handle those. It's usually just putting it in a bucket of water to cool it down so it doesn't react. So recovering from a tangle, this is if we lose the momentum of the vessel, or if we're going through long lining gear, the streamers will all tangle together. These are the airbags from what we call the streamer recovery devices, and usually the vessel can recover all this on their own, but if any of them snap, they will float freely, and but we would like as much of the equipment back as possible. So if we can grab on one end of it and bring it on board, then that's a convenient thing to do. It saves us some money. So during a typical survey, we have various phases. The main one is called online, which is when we're acquiring data and we'll be sailing in a straight line. You'll probably hear the guns firing, pop, pop, pop every 10 seconds, and a line can last from anywhere from an hour to 12 hours. Then we'll turn around 180 degrees and then acquire another line in the opposite direction. And then we continue this for as many lines as it takes to complete the survey. There we go, and that can take anywhere from 20 days to 3 months, depending on the length of the survey. So we have various different types of fleets, but I'm not going to complicate that one because the particular operation we're doing here is just a single vessel streamer. So support vessels, this is where you come in. We have three types of support vessels. We have type 1, type 2, type 3. This is type 2 capable, but it's generally just acting as a guard vessel. Of course, your first stage will actually be scouting on an area where there isn't actually any activity happening, so we'll discuss what will happen there. So what can you do as a chase guard vessel? Maintain position ahead of a streamer vessel, locate and make contact and intercept marine traffic. That will be obviously one of the key things with your scouting ahead of the PTEP project, to obviously let all the fishing vessels in the area know that this project will be coming in at a certain date. We'll give them fishing flyers so they're aware to try and pick up their gear and relocate to an alternative area for the next 60 days. Supply vessels, that's your type 3s. They'll bring equipment, they'll bring fuel, they'll bring provisions, and they will probably do the same for type 1s if we keep you out there. If you've got the capability to refuel and reload offshore, we would like to keep you out there for as much time as possible, reduce the time in port. Gangway transfer, that's not relevant for you guys, but that's how we transfer our personnel from the supply vessel to the mother vessel. If we don't use helicopters, that's the alternative way of doing it. Small boats, we obviously send out these FRCs, and also we have what we call a Norpower workboat. That helps us do maintenance on the deployed equipment at sea. And if we send that out, we'll usually put a vessel such as this very close by in case of an emergency and you need to assist. Some of the activities and challenges we have, of course, in this part of the world we have a lot of marine growth. That's why the small boats usually go out, try and clear off these barnacles. It puts too much tension on the cable and reduces the sensitivity of the embedded hydrophones in the cable, so we spend a lot of time out in the heat cleaning that up. Other seismic vessels and also any types of other vessels, we try and maintain our distance. This is of course Fox other vessels, and this is where we intend to sail, so a lot of communication with other vessels to keep clear of us. Fishing boats is a huge challenge, usually without radio, without radar or any kind of AIS, so they can quite easily get caught on the streamers. We're maintaining a forward position, and so again we try and communicate and make sure that everybody knows the area we're working in and that you can stay as clear, or if there is an incident, then to obviously help them out and recover. I think it's more fish. This is long lining gear. I don't think we generally get too much long lining. I think we get drift nets and the traps and the other stuff here. But if we do encounter it, initially we just mark it for the scouting. That would be one of your jobs, is to actually locate and record a position of all the stuff you find. So then we can helpfully identify the owners, get in touch with them and remove it. If we come to a point where it has to be removed, we'll take it on board, we'll bring it back to port, we'll try and get back to the owners, but if not, we just need to know who it belongs to so we can act accordingly. Other fishing nets and close passes for rigs, but that's not going to be relevant on the next project because there are no rigs in the area at the moment, which is good. Shallows and pinnacles, anything that isn't marked on charts, we need to know about so we can put it out on our stuff. This area of the world is renowned for not being particularly well documented for its maps, so any local knowledge is good for us. Mark buoys to hope you won't see any of those, but again, it's another hazard. They're often not marked on maps. They may only come out as a notice to mariners, or sometimes not even then. We're working close to rivers, so the fluctuation between the seawater and the fresh water can cause plumes, and that can cause our gear to sink. So each project has what we call a SSMP, Site-Specific Management Plan. It gives you an expectations of all the local hazards and all of the emergency plan and contacts. So I have a brief copy for the scouting survey, but when the actual project starts, there will be another one as well, and I think we'll continue over on that. But of course, the other communication line is through your vessel owners, and they will obviously share any information on that. But this will be provided. KPIs, that'll be relevant if we come on to this other project. We need to be working for 90 days for that to be working. So reporting, obviously you make contact with the mother vessel, follow their instructions. There's some paperwork I'll give to the captain for reporting and other stuff. And from here, normally you would go and join the mother vessel, but you're actually going to go out and work on the scouting project, so you won't be working with a seismic vessel, but it's the instructions are still there, along with the communication lines. So if you do go and work with the Vessvuci for a longer period, the crew will come over and do various training with the medic and the OAS from there. You may have to transport personnel, possibly. So join in for a start-up meeting, and for all normal operations, support vessel manual. We'll print a copy of that, and that just sort of gives you some more information. So that's all there is to that one. We have a little bit of just a small QHSE induction, which gives you just sort of a little bit more about our expectations and help on what we do to build teamwork and why we do it. Okay, so why have a QHSE program? Well, you could have a smaller injury, you could have a more serious injury, you could have a life-changing injury, or potentially even a life. So, by identifying and working together, we say together
more
support each other, communication, key lines. Listening to each other, respect, and encouragement.
You are not part of what team job.
So we say a hazardous situation is
a situation or a substandard condition where an act has occurred. So literally that could just be a coffee spill on the floor by itself, not a problem. But a near accident is an undesired event which, under slightly different circumstances, have the potential to cause an accident, which is to say that I now slip on that spilled coffee, but I don't injure myself. Hello? Hello? Yeah, not too bad. What's going on? Okay. I'm doing the Danum's induction now, and I'm going over to
the other vessel this afternoon. I will probably be on. No, I'll be on the Mega Maria at 2:30. Not in until Friday. all in hand. Yeah, well, they just had medicals yesterday, but Cartina's already got all the reports back. Yeah. Okay, the only one we're missing was for Richard Wayno, because I think he did his medical before. I did send her all the stuff, she said she couldn't find it, so I'm going to send it again this afternoon. But I don't think it should hold anything up. Alright, okay, alright, take care. Okay, bye-bye. Okay, so I've slipped on the coffee, but I didn't hurt myself. And an accident is an accident as defined as by an undesired event which can result in harm to people, damage to vehicles or assets, damage to the environment, or loss of assets to object. So, as an example, we have a paint locker with some open paint. That's a hazardous situation. By itself, not a problem. Then we introduce somebody having a cigarette break.
Very nice.
There's your unsafe act. He's taking a smoke break in the paint locker. And so we have the potential for
fire.
for an explosion. Could result in a very nasty incident. So how do we prevent that from happening? Well, we can have a controlled paint store, and then if there was that incident, it wouldn't result in the same outcome. By having some safeguards, no smoking policy, locked paint store, ventilation, we prevent these safeguards from happening. So training and emergency plans. So by reporting incidents when they occur, we're able to analyse how they occurred and make corrective action to basically have this continuous improvement cycle. By reporting this skip where someone can get hurt on a future similar situation. So to the mother vessel, you're expected to report any lost time injury within 24 hours. Other QHSE related reporting on a weekly basis. Obviously we know that the connectivity here is quite slow, but the master will take care of that one for you. Toolbox meetings are just an informal step back, just to make sure that everybody is aware of the activity that's taking place and their role within it, and obviously yeah, that's a little bit too small, but that's just generally to say that everybody is involved and anybody can stop a job if it's not going the way it's supposed to according to the procedure or other events that have changed the way it's supposed to be working. So how do you handle a stop job? Well, someone in the team might miss something, might see something that you haven't. Doing it right the first time means stopping as soon as something is not going according to the plan. That's usually when injuries will occur. It's not going the way it normally does, but we continue to do it anyway. So obviously if you have a request to stop job, be receptive and encouraging. It only takes a rejection that to convince somebody that it doesn't mean anything. So as an example, so receiving a package from onshore, supplier recognises that it's either damaged or packed inappropriately, and by stopping and asking for the packaging to be redone, it takes a little time, it could be a little bit of delay, but if you take it that way, it could become damaged, might not be able to use it, might have to send the boat in and get another one. Second example could be you received the wrong lifting straps for a particular lift, but if you say they're the ones you received and you go, well that's okay, I'll just use those ones anyway, it could result in an injury if actually making that lift with the right ones. So we say observation intervention, so is where you observe a particular activity happening, make a plan to the person, how you're going to communicate, friendly greeting, potentially see if you can get them to change their mannerisms and the way they're particularly doing the work, and obtain an action plan to correct it and get a confirmation. So as an example, guy's moving a reel obviously is not really very able to see where it's going. Friendly greeting would help them put the reel down, maybe get some teamwork. And as a second example, obviously overreaching, probably just doesn't have the right tools, doesn't want to go and get the step ladder or the equipment he needs to position himself properly, but without it he could injure himself. Third example might want a bit more immediate intervention, just in case that's moving, could result in a nasty hand injury. But on the positive, it's got all the right PPE on. And, so company policies, health requirements. So we have a QHSE policy. It'll get pinned up on the board here. Just gives you what our expectations as a company are in that. Saying obviously the long-term business success of us depends on the ability to continue to improve our products and services while protecting people and environment. Obviously we have zero tolerance to substance abuse, as does Petronas, as does most companies these days. It's Schlumberger policy that any person cannot be on property or using our equipment. Any violations in drug and alcohol policy could result in termination or the loss of the job. Sexual harassment, again, it's quite a common policy these days. It's unlikely you're going to be involved with any of our meeting any of our staff, but it's all the policies still run the same. Driving policy, we encourage anybody who's driving with us to make sure that they wear seatbelts and control their driver. Make sure the driver's also wearing a seatbelt, doesn't use mobile phones while they're driving, because at the end of the day that comes down to your safety as well as everybody else in the vehicle. So we recommend a health checkup every 2 years. Six vaccinations we recommend. I don't know how that works on here, but if we'll do an audit on that probably later to see how we're meeting that. If you're on any medication, obviously make sure that your vessel captain knows, and also if with the sergeant vessel, so then we can be aware just in case of an emergency. And obviously make sure that you bring enough medication for however long you plan to be at sea, because there's no pharmacists or doctors out there. If you work in the malaria zone, this is okay here off coastal, but we do take that stuff. We also recommend annual dental checkup, because again it's very hard to get the treatment while you're out at sea. We have a smoking policy that says there's no smoking indoors. It can only be out on outside decks or a designated smoking room. So PPE requirements, our minimum PPE requirements, again pretty much the same, is safety glasses, hard hat, suits, coveralls, gloves. If you're also working in noisy areas such as engine room or shipping painting, also require ear defenders on an open deck. Will also require a life vest, and if you're working above 1.8 meters, you need minimum PPE, safety harness, and a permit to work. And should you be working in a confined space, breathing apparatus as well. So, that's anybody who wears a ring should take it off or cover it up. When you're working in particular areas, there's a huge risk from these. Many places just won't even allow you to wear them now. It's so if you're involved in that, just lockout, tag out. Nothing should be operated that's been tagged out. Refer to the never attempt to operate equipment that's been tagged out. Refer to the person who put the permit to lock it out in the first place, and how that might affect you'll need to use that equipment or area. Permit to work is a formal written system used to control certain potentially hazardous work. It includes hot work, electrical work, confined space, hot penetrating equipment, and safe work permit. Any active permit to work must be displayed on the bridge, filled out, closed out properly, and kept in the register. Do not get involved in mechanical lifting unless you know the following: the lifting plan for the lift to be made, details of the mechanical lifting and the corresponding arc. That obviously depends on the bridging arrangements for here. Permit to work process, the types of lifting equipment, and inspection of lifting equipment. I don't think on here you're probably likely to be involved in anything over 1 ton, usually just provisions, I would imagine. But make sure we have correct PPE requirements, we know the safe working limits of the crane and the slings, assess the load weight, tagline requirements, always minimum 1 tag, hand signals, the zone of operation.
Zone of operation.
Actually I'm going to skip through those because they're not quite relevant for this one. We'll probably do that one later. So we're not going to do that. Okay, I think that's just it's a little brief introduction for you for our QHSE. But in terms of the project itself, it just starts off scouting. So it's really just we'll take a surveyor on from a company called Meridian. They will do site scan survey in preparation for the arrival of the Vessvuci. And obviously looking out for fishing activity is going to be the main priority for the operation itself. But, that's I'll just say thank you for your time on that, and we'll have a chat with the master and let you know a bit more about when we go. We should hopefully be leaving here in Miri by the end of the week. So yeah, that's what we're hoping for. But, all right, does anyone got any questions?
Ada pertanyaan?
Mau tanya apa? Ini question? Apa nama kapalnya? Question?
Isi, udah? No. What's the mother vessel name, please?
The WG Vessvuci, after the explorer. Yeah.
So they have three just put there, right?
Say again.
We have three. How many just put there now?
At the moment, the Danum 162, the SK801, the SK9, and the Taker's Tara.
Oh, already 3 there.
Yeah.
So
4.
4.
Yeah. So, but we'll be probably moving these around because we have another ship coming in called the Amazon Conqueror. They're going to be working in Sabah. So we need to take on some extra vessels to help support that. So it'll be one or the other, but there'll be lots of changes. But for the next 20 days, it's the scouting on the PTEP project that's the priority. So in 20 days' time, we should know a little bit more about what to do next. But I think everyone's on here for a couple more months at least. So I'm sure you're quite keen to get out and see the nice weather.
Okay, I think still next for until November. So.
Yeah. Well, because it's all Petronas again. Once we've got the all clear to go, we'll send the doctor down. They do the drug and alcohol test on everybody on board who's going to sail. Petronas gives the thumbs up, and off we go. So that's that'll be hopefully by the end of the week.
Nice, very good. So, any question? I think no question.
No.
So,
okay, perfect. All right. Well, thanks for your time, everybody.
Thank you very much. Thank you. See you again. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Welcome back. Di luar.